Hello, everybody.
Hey everyone.
Welcome back. We were off last week. It was my fault. I had to make a run in the morning. It took a little longer than I thought, and I didn't want to do it in the car. Uh, I don't want anybody cutting me off and then me saying something I wasn't
It
supposed
just comes out.
to
We've all been there.
say. The Saints got a little bit of road rage sometimes.
We have pent up energy that we need to get out so when the opportunity comes.
Right, right. I know you probably be cussing people out in the car. I know.
Huh?
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 Huh? Huh? Huh? Huh? Huh?
I keep my windows rolled up. That's all I gotta say.
Right. That's why you got the extra glob of oil on you last month. Remind me to tell you something after about her.
Okay.
So I remember. Um, but welcome everybody. Come on and join us today. Um, just a quick announcement. Something very important is happening this week. The Super Bowl this Sunday.
Yay! I'm so
E,
excited.
A,
Oh my
E,
gosh.
L, E, S, Eagles.
Eagles. Uh
I'm gonna wear my shirt on Sunday.
I don't have anything else green to wear.
I got an Eagle shirt that I have. Yeah, I got a couple Eagle stuff. So
I was gonna buy one, but then I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to save up a little bit for the ones I was gonna get.
we'll just get a cheap one. They're like go to somewhere they're like $20, $30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
do that.
yeah. So welcome everybody. Of course, we have this week our anointed bishop, the last anointing service for just for the time being. Of course, will be this
Mhm.
Wednesday. If you weren't here this past Wednesday, or if you were, um, come on and join us this Wednesday. And this is more important than the Eagles thing. We was just you know we was just messing around. Uh, but the ministry stuff is of course the most important. Um, join us this Wednesday for the anointing service. Bring your oil. We're going to pray
Mhm.
over it, pray over everybody, and make sure you're here with us. If you can't come on Wednesday, join us online.
And
Um,
we still bring our prayer requests and
yeah,
whatnot on Wednesday
bring your
too.
prayer requests too. Yes, bring your prayer requests. We're going to lay them on the altar, and we're going to pray over them. Also, tomorrow night we have Focus Singles Ministry. You and Rev, she going to do a live.
Yep, Pastor P's gonna be live for the Focus Singles Ministry
Good, good. So she'll
Tuesday.
be up for that. Yeah. So join us for ministry, and of course, if you didn't watch yesterday's message, go back and watch it. Watch communion. Um, we had an awesome Sunday. Still interesting getting back in a rhythm.
Yeah, it's happening though.
Right. No, it's
It's
happening.
happening.
It's happening, but you don't remember the adjustment until you're actually in it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh yeah.
Mhm. I forgot what this was like.
Right. Getting back into it, like, yeah, man, this is a little work, huh?
Yeah, communion yesterday was
Yeah.
fantastic,
Yeah.
out of this world.
Yeah.
But when I got home last night, I was like, man, I am tired.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Getting back into the rhythm of stuff.
Getting
Like,
back
yeah,
into the swing of things, but
swing of things. It was good though.
it's so good, so good.
Yeah, it
And
was
I
good.
I didn't realize how much I missed it,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So join us for ministry opportunities, and we're doing Lent this year. Starts the 22nd of this month.
Mhm.
Um watch out for some videos for that. The announcement should go up that we made on Sunday. You gonna post it today, right?
Yep, we post today.
Post it today, yeah. And as we celebrate uh during this Lenten journey. I've been doing it personally for a few years now. It's the first time we're doing it corporately as a church.
Mhm.
So you want to make sure you come on and join us. Hey, Bridget, Tiff, Mylita, Kiefe, Jeanette, Dana.
Okay.
Welcome everybody. If it's your first time, put VIP in the chat. Let us know you're watching. Even if if it's not your first time, but you never really talk. We can see the numbers there, but you never say anything. Just shoot us a hello. Let us know you're watching. Unless you're at work and you're not supposed to be watching, don't put that.
I want to give a special shout out to Deacon Wilbur because he told me last night that he watches. So
Good, good, good. So y'all tune in. Again, my apologies for last week. We were supposed to be live but weren't. That was on me. Uh,
It's okay.
Something
We
just
forgive you. We forgive you.
oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Something just took longer than I thought. I thought I'd be back in time, but you know, either way, we're here. Um,
Hi,
today,
Bridget.
yeah, hi Bridget. Today, uh, how can I say this? It is Black History Month,
Mm-hmm.
and we may not do this all month, but I just want to just throw this out here. Uh, every now and then, I'll see like those memes and those people saying stuff about Black people and Christianity.
Mm.
That that Black African Americans wouldn't be Christians if it wasn't for slavery.
Who comes
Still,
up with this stuff?
still trying to label Christianity as um, the white man's religion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and while it may be true that there were slaves that were taught Christianity, um, hey Rudolph, how you doing?
Hey there.
Um, that they may have been taught I will say this, not Christian, but a form of Christianity, because you know in the slave Bible they took out all of the liberation scriptures.
It's a little different. Yeah.
Um, and I'll say this, that the same Bible that slave owners used to try to justify slavery, um, African Americans also found liberty in the scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
And the scriptures were the basis of the platform for freedom from slavery, for overcoming racism, and for the civil rights movement. Um, and I think that it's important for African Americans to learn their history,
Mm.
not just Africans in America history, but also understanding that Christianity started in a place where people were brown.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus was most likely a olive brown skinned man, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is Christianity was in Africa long before there was a slave trade, an Atlantic slave trade, long before the United States ever was even known. From the very early centuries,
Yeah.
Christianity's been in Africa. I mean, you studied the Coptic Catholic Church in Ethiopia. They have churches dating back to like the early centuries. The churches in Alexandria. Uh, but a lot of us don't know this because we never did the research on it.
Right.
A lot of when major heresy was going through the early church in the first couple centuries, it was bishops from Africa that helped come in and say, no, this is wrong, this is right. And a lot of our major doctrines came from some African bishops,
Yeah.
you know, that came in and set some things in order. But a lot of so this is why, you know, you'll hear people say Black history starts in the Bible, because, you know, there is a element that shows us that Christianity has been a part of people of brown hue
Mm-hmm.
from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
The Ethiopian in Acts chapter 8, from the very beginning. Come on, y'all. I mean,
Yeah.
it was there. You know, so I think that we, in a time when parts of the United States. Sorry, I'm tired of them collecting.
You're good.
Parts of the United States are trying to eliminate a true discussion of our history.
Yeah.
We have to be the ones to teach the generations about the true history of our people,
Mm-hmm.
where we came from, and why it's significant.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I know that
No,
was
that's good. So true. But I think that we're losing a sense of reverence for that history,
Mhm.
if I can say it that way. Like, I remember growing up and my parents forced me to learn all about Black history and going to the museums and watching documentaries and all that stuff. So I have a certain reverence for that history and what they've done. And, you know, to go back, like you said, taking the initiative to learn more about, you know, what truly happened,
Mhm.
and to see, you know, how we come to play in Christianity. I don't know if younger generations have that push
Mhm.
to do that.
Yeah, you're right. It came from our parents, so we were taught. But again, I've talked to a couple like millennial groups,
Mhm.
they were taught the basics,
Mhm,
in elementary school, depending on what school you go to. I went
mhm,
to a primarily, white school, so that
mhm.
you learn about Jackie Robinson, you learn about Jesse Owens,
Right,
you learn about
right.
the majority of people. Um, but a lot of what I learned Black history wise was from people in my family or stuff I've learned on my own,
Mhm.
just from reading, learning, and studying. I think, and you're right. My kids this month, is Black. We teach them Black history, but this month is just plain Black history.
Black me black, black,
Yeah,
black.
we black, 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 black. But trying to show them, because again, we're in a society where a portion, we see it in Florida, a couple
Mhm.
other places, where they're trying to change the narrative of history to fit
Yeah.
the comfort of other people. And we have to be the ones to teach them this stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, a couple of years ago, I had to take one of our millennials through a Black history. The person was like in her 20s and didn't know about. I'm like, oh no, you're gonna learn this. But,
We gonna
but
learn today.
right. I remember one of our kids in teen service years ago, and I'll never forget it. We were going through, it's when Trayvon Martin, when that
Mhm.
situation happened. So we had a discussion about it on, in service. And one of the kids said, I don't mind if one of my white friends calls me the N word.
Mm.
And I said, we had a discussion about that, put it that way,
Yeah.
um, about it's not as much now as it was before, but there's this overwhelming, you know, because we're cool, and it's not like that anymore. And parts of us started believing that, well, all that
Yeah.
racism stuff is not like it used to be. And then all of a sudden, Trayvon Martin happened, Trump era happened, all this stuff, and this new generation, they're like,
What
no,
happened?
it's
Yeah.
still here, because the premise was you don't know why somebody's going, why they feel comfortable calling you that. You don't know their motive, you don't know their intent.
Mhm.
But but you're right. I think it's important for us to be the teachers.
We have to.
Yeah, yeah. Of that, especially even when it comes to Christianity. So I don't base my whole identity on my race,
Mhm.
but I am proud of my race. And as a Christian, you are allowed to be proud of your
Mhm.
race. We're children of God. And I hate when people say, I don't see color. I'm colorblind. Hello, you don't have eyes. I see everybody as human beings. First off, you're
Yeah.
lying. The thing is too, when people say I'm colorblind, you're basically denying the beauty of God's creative difference.
Yep.
Yes,
And
we
that's
treat everybody as humans, but don't deny, celebrate the creative difference.
yeah.
Sorry.
And then that's one of the things, just thinking about, the story of Noah and the ark and how he called the animals two by two. Like that for me displays variety and difference and how we all bring different things, even though we're different,
Mhm.
but we're all important and essential to, creation and what God, you know, created for us. So to say that you're colorblind is kind of for me sweeping under the rug
Mhm.
what God did in making us all different and how
Yeah,
important that is.
yeah. And what I've learned when people say I'm colorblind and I don't see color or raceless, usually is usually a reason to deny
Mhm.
that people that don't look like you have different experiences than you.
Mm.
We're all human beings. I've seen Christians say this. We're all God's children. We're all human beings. And
Yeah.
God sees us all the same. And I see all of us the same. But they usually say that to deny that this group of people, you know, to justify not looking at this group of people's struggles in this country, you know?
Right.
So and that's usually when I hear it, it's not. So say something happened with the police. Well, I'm colorblind. I don't see color. You're basically saying that everybody's experience with the police, not all police, but is the same, which is not true.
Mhm.
But it's easy just to throw that away, by just throwing in their races. But God created a diversity for a reason. And our
Right.
diversity should be celebrated and not looked at
Absolutely.
something that's bad.
Right.
And then
And then
us as people.
you can't fix a problem when you can't see it.
Right.
So, like, for me, when you say stuff like that, it's saying, "Okay, I know that there might be an issue over here. but
Mhm.
I'm not going to see it because, if I don't see it,
Mhm.
it doesn't exist.
Yes.
You
Yes.
can't you can't you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. And it's to me nothing wrong with saying, yo, like for instance, um, I am a man and I am not a woman. So I
Mhm.
can honestly say that there are certain I'm aware of certain privileges that I have than a woman does.
Mhm.
Because there are some things that people will find acceptable to me because of my gender,
Mhm.
but unacceptable. For instance, if
Mhm.
I started crying right now on screen,
Mhm.
oh, he's so strong. He's strong enough to be vulnerable and da 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 da, right?
Yep.
Maya started crying on screen. The interpretation is, oh, she's weak. She
Mhm.
can't handle it. Here she go, another woman being emotional.
Yep.
Am I right?
You're right. Yep.
And then I have to, as a man, understand that there are women out there who find it hard to be vulnerable in public because it's looked down on.
Mhm.
So if two men in a presidential debate are arguing and fighting with each other, that's strength. If
Right.
a woman is doing the same thing, oh, here she go, just emotional, can't handle no pressure. That was what got Hillary Clinton because they like, oh, she
Somebody make it make sense.
right, right. Hillary Clinton, oh, she's a robot. She has no feeling, And then when she shows feelings, oh, here she go, typical
Right.
woman. As a man, I have to understand the nuance of yes, we're human beings, but Maya's experience is different than mine,
Mhm.
gender wise. And I can't deny that experience in her and other women,
Right.
especially because she's a black woman too. Then it goes into the angry black woman. So I got to be able to
Wait, what did you
think
just say?
about it.
What did you just
I'm not
say?
talking about you. I'm making this. Look at you, angry black woman. Look at you, angry black woman. Right. But that angry black woman trope is real though.
Yeah.
Where if they show emotion, here she go being angry again. And I can't sit there and act like, oh, it's the same. It's not the same. It's that, but being aware of diversity and being aware of the perceptions is a part of us trying to grow more equal and trying to level the playing field for everybody,
Yeah.
but understanding that there are biases there.
There
I'm
are.
sorry, that was a rant.
And I think part of it on the other end too is acknowledging, and I feel like we talked about this before, that I might not, be the best at everything,
Mhm,
right? And so I have to try to put you down to make me feel better.
mhm.
Instead, think of how much further we'd be able to get as a society if we just supported our differences and supported, each other in the areas that we lacked in,
Yes, yes.
you
I mean,
know?
and being, but because I think it's admitting culpability,
Mhm.
in that. I don't consider myself a bad patriarchal person.
Mhm.
I think there's good patriarchy and there's good matriarchy. There's bad patriarchy, there's bad matriarchy. Um, but we've been very supportive of women, elevating women, putting them in position. Because our philosophy, for instance, churches, we don't care. That can you do the job?
Right.
That can you do
Job
your
gets
work?
done.
That's the important thing. Um, but learning those differences and our differences are what are supposed to make us okay. And let's even talk about our community.
Mhm.
You know, some of us have learned to make our differences negative.
Mhm.
So our physical features,
Mhm.
black people, we have certain physical nose is wider, stuff just,
Mhm.
and then we look down on it
Mhm.
because we were taught those things weren't attractive.
Yep.
Um, and this is the part. This is one thing. This is one of the things I need. We need to stop sanitizing Martin Luther King.
Yes.
Listen to all of his works besides that little short "I Have a Dream" part,
Mhm.
because in that whole speech, he was talking about reparations. He was talking about stuff. There's this one video that he talks about how black is beautiful,
Mhm.
and he said they've been teaching you to look at your black as something bad. Come on, Evangelist Maya, something bad, right? And he starts going through that. But again, for us, paper bag challenge. Somebody too dark, their lips too big, this too big, this too.
Good hair, bad hair,
Yeah.
like.
And the more European somebody looks, I mean, come on, y'all. Let's talk about it.
And who set those standards?
But again, it goes from the belief of black is not good, other side is good.
Mm-hmm.
And then we even got into that whole colorist thing because we fell prey to that premise. And I mean, and kids can be cruel. I mean, I did it. We joked about people being too this, being too that. And we would just
You bully.
we no. I say, let me finish. We would roast each other, but it was a collective roast.
That's the difference, yes.
Right. It was roasting in the black community is like a
rite of passage.
It's like a rite of passage. It's it's what we do to each other. We laugh to keep from crying. So so you roast each other about it. Now, depending on what school you went to, you don't see it that way because you came from a little like Maya, you came from
a see, here we go.
Diverse group, but so you may not see it the same. But it's just but sometimes those jokes did hurt people. Mm-hmm. Because they already felt sensitive about it already. And you kind of grew up with the complex, but all of us are different and we have to learn to embrace our differences. Now, I'm not saying crazy. I'm talking about difference.
Yeah.
Collective roasting,
Collective roasting. We were kind of talking about this yesterday during Engage, about being able to love ourselves and others, right? Yep. And that you can't love others if you don't love yourself.
Yep.
And to me, I think that's where the deeper issue is, just the lack of love that we can have for ourselves, either because we don't see ourselves clearly, or we hear these constant negativity of not being this enough or being too much of this. Like how do we begin to resolve those areas in our life?
I'll use I say it often. I got this from Cat Williams. He said it's called self-esteem. It's not other people's esteem. He's like, and when he said it, it was like, duh. It's like, it ain't got nothing to do with how other people feel about you. How do you feel about yourself? But I think one of the roots of one of the consequences of the fall in sin is comparison.
Yeah.
Negative comparison. Adam and Eve saw their nakedness, saw each other's nakedness, and were not ashamed. But once the fall came, they saw themselves naked. They saw each other naked. And in that comparison, in me looking at me, they start covering themselves. So now insecurity pervades this sinful nature that we have.
Yeah.
Where there's nothing wrong with healthy comparison. So, for example, I'm techie to a certain degree. Maya's more techie than me with all this stuff. She knows more about all that website building. I don't know, but should I feel bad because I don't know? No. If I have a question, I reach out to her. I don't care to know at this point. I just need somebody around me that does know.
Right.
But unhealthy comparisons, well, she knows that and I don't know this. Well, maybe that's her area. She's gifted and created to do. This is mine. And we learn to celebrate those differences rather than looking at our differences as a negative. Let's learn to celebrate them.
Right.
But it starts with how you feel about you, your self-image, your self-perception in God, and know that no two people are the same. I tell the story again. It's like I was talking to somebody and they were like, we were talking about beauty standards. And I was like, well, give me 4 or 5 people that you think are the beauty standard. Person gave me 4 or 5 people. I said, they all look different, right? You literally know. Yes, they're beautiful, but they all look different. So I asked questions. So which one is the standard?
Right.
Well, I don't know. Well,
somebody make it make sense. Yeah.
But again, it's emotion that doesn't make sense.
Another thing about that is that standards change.
Yes.
in society and culture. Like, what was the standard back then doesn't cut it now.
Yeah.
So how are you like, it's I could not live that way.
Yeah. And I'm not saying you out here looking crazy. Like I still got to comb my beard. I ain't got no. I was gonna say comb my hair. I still got to comb my beard. You know,
Try to today.
you know what I mean. I still gotta put lotion on. I'm not saying don't look right. But what
Right.
all I'm saying is it's we're not saying you look like you just rolled out of bed. I'm confident in who I am.
You gotta care for yourself.
I've learned the more confident you are in yourself, the more you care about how you treat yourself, how you look, and you're
Right.
not over the top with it.
Mhm.
We don't feel like you have to wear heels every day to be cute, and just. But I think it's learning to embrace our differences and be okay with that. And that's if there's one thing we learn about Black history is learning how to embrace said differences
Yeah.
and know that God is a God of all people, and I don't have to deny where I came from in order to get to know God.
Right.
Because some people teach that in a way. Like I remember one of this preacher telling a story about how the, one of the preacher went to I think like where the Samoans are. I think it was the Samoans. I think
Mhm.
in that part of the world, and the missionary had them dressing up, looking like in suits and all that stuff like that. And somebody came over, was like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to change their culture because you think salvation is based off culture change?" He told the people from I think it was Samoa somewhere, wear your traditional garbs,
Yes.
do your thing. They came in with their traditional garbs, with their drums, and they said they had a move of God that night that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But again, it goes back to we think that salvation is looking like a certain culture
Mhm.
when God doesn't want you to necessarily give up the good of your culture, if I can say that, to stop denying your uniqueness
Mhm.
in order to be saved. Because a lot of what we see in America is, how can I say this, Lord? A Christianity that fits a certain demographic.
Mhm.
And if you don't do it this way and look this way, then you really don't. It
Yeah.
almost was that era of we're doing it the right way and y'all need to adjust to us.
But you know what I was gonna say when you were mentioning, how they came in their cultural, like just as they are,
Mhm.
there is a power that comes with that.
Mhm.
And I think that's what can be intimidating. And so we're going to try to conform it to,
Yes.
say settle down.
Yes.
But there's a power that comes with just being who you are by nature and how, that then relates to God and how you praise him and worship him and all that.
Yeah. And I've seen some Black churches temper themselves because somebody that didn't look like us told them the way you worship is too emotional and too loud.
Mm,
So they gave up their cultural strength to fit folk that wasn't coming to church anyway. So you lose your uniqueness
mhm,
because somebody told you how we did it was wrong.
mhm.
I remember I was at this conference and uh, this gentleman came to me. He said, "Man," he said, He said, "I love the way y'all have church." It was like he was white. He's like the way y'all talk to the preacher and the way y'all do this. He's like, I wish we could do, but again, that's our uniqueness. And I don't
Yeah,
think we need to, I think a church should be a place for everybody.
absolutely.
Um, but I don't think we need to totally give up our uniqueness. We can make some adjustments,
Mhm.
but I don't think we should give up our total identity, cultural identity, because somebody else that's not in our culture tells us that is wrong. Because you notice they don't adjust their culture to fit ours. We got to adjust into their culture.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. I mean, when you think about it, they're not making that adjustment. But
it's
again,
true.
it goes back to trying to determine what Christianity looks like.
Mhm. So I went to a Christian school, and every now and then in college we would have guest speakers come for chapel.
Mhm.
And there's this one guy, he's a big pastor like out in Canada. And I remember it to this day because I don't even know how this related to what he was talking to. But he made the statement about how, it's wrong to be loud in church and to scream and like all the things that I grew up with. He
Hmm.
was saying it's inappropriate. But I'm like, when you go to your soccer games, I bet you just don't sit there. So to see like that's still happening even now
Hmm.
was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when the Bible talks about, I mean, the Jewish culture, which Bible has of course, is highly Jewish influence to it. I mean, a bunch of Jews wrote it, so I mean, they are very expressive,
Mhm.
and God worked within their context of their expression. You know, and
Mhm.
and God works through expression, but again, it's trying to get people to assimilate
Mhm.
to what human beings find acceptable, not what God finds acceptable. So that's why you got Negro spirituals, you got all this stuff, and watch night service, and you know our expression is different. Um, so that's what I'm gonna start calling you, evangelist.
No.
You see your name change, right?
Oh boy. Ugh.
but again, knowing those difference, appreciating said difference, and knowing that God can work within all cultures,
Mhm.
all, and you don't necessarily have to give up your cultural identity, you know, for God to be pleased with you. Because that's when we start worshiping style. Here's
Yeah.
the problem: we start worshiping style over who we're worshiping.
Yes.
And when you start trying to dictate what style is God, then you've made the style more important than your one that you're worshiping.
Mhm.
You know, so it doesn't mean, and it's okay to have a preference. If you want something like real quiet, there's a church for you like that.
Mhm.
You want something more louder, there's a church for you for that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to knock the one that likes it quiet. You have to like the one that knocks it
Right.
louder. Find what works for you. Everybody's not a shouter.
And what am I trying to say? I think there's beauty in understanding that there's a place and a time for things. So like when I want to get my praise on, I know I can put on my gospel music and just go out, right? But then I also know I like music that's more on the contemporary side because
Mhm.
that's just where I'm in that moment. So being able to see not one being any greater than the other, but how they all collectively
Mhm.
are a part of my worship.
Yep. It all works together.
Yep.
I can listen to CCM, I can listen to church music, I can work all through. And that's one of the things this generation is growing up with, a more culturally diverse, um, this is one of the most culturally diverse groups
Hmm.
growing up because it's more popularized.
Mhm.
Even I'm not saying other generations weren't cross cultural, but you're seeing it more and more now because it's more on TV, it's more on the radio, it's more popularized.
Mhm.
And for the church of the future, it's not just going to be all CCM, all church music. You're going to start seeing a lot of hybrids
Yeah.
because you're growing up with a generation that is growing up with a more hybrid sound and a more hybrid look.
Mhm.
And if you're stuck on one side, you'll have a group, but this new group that's coming up, you're going to have a hard time because they like a more hybrid sound, a more hybrid look. And I think
Yeah.
you can have that hybrid without totally giving up your identity.
Of course. Yeah.
You
But
know,
I think that's an important thing to keep in mind because when we get to heaven, it's not gonna look all like one person.
no, no, it's not. And when people say, Lord, I'm gonna get in trouble with this. We need to
Don't
get
get in
back.
trouble.
We need to get back to church and how it used to be. That usually means let's go back to how we did it 20 years ago, 30 years ago, because we
Mhm.
think that was the only way to do it.
Mhm.
Rather than that's the era that I like. You know, that's the era that I prefer. But don't make that the only way that God
Yeah.
dictates how it's supposed to be. We got all this stuff and we need to have old time church. No, we don't. We can have it involved and
Right.
mix the old and the new, which I think is the best way. But I love hymns. But do I want a service full of them? No.
Mhm.
I don't want every song to be a hymn. I'm sorry. I don't want every song to be foot stomping. Can
Yeah.
we have some diversity?
Yep.
You know, a diverse sound. You know, do I want to all new all the time? No, you mixing some old stuff.
Right.
But again, it just, I don't know. I think we need to be open to diverse sounds, and it's okay to have your preference.
Absolutely.
Nothing wrong with it, but don't make your preference become your God.
Right.
Where we start worshiping worship rather than worshiping God. All right, we're past time, y'all.
Yeah, we gotta go.
Thank you for indulging this little rant. Don't forget tomorrow night, Focus Singles Ministry at 7. Bible study on Wednesday at 7. Bring your prayer requests, bring your oil. Bishop's going to be anointing everybody again on Wednesday. And Thursday, we don't have anything to do.
Thursday's a Sound Mind panel.
Sound Mind panel on Thursday. And then Friday is nothing. Right. Saturday on point. And then, of course, Sunday service, 11 o'clock, we're open. And then let's pray, y'all, the Eagles win this game on Sunday.
Hallelujah.
We need another parade. I went to one. I don't need to go again. that was fun the first time, and I'm good. So if they win again, I'll watch it from TV.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. If it was a non-COVID time, I'd probably consider it.
That's too many people.
It's too many people.
That's too many people for me.
You're like
COVID.
You're stocked. You're like shoulder to shoulder with people, and most of them are drunk anyway. What about them Chiefs? They're a good team.
Totally.
I like the Chiefs. Like the Chiefs are a good team, but I think the Eagles can do this. If they have no turnovers and they don't get away from running the ball, they're going to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
They're absolutely going to win this game. So we'll see.
It's definitely going to be a historic game, just with the history between the players, the coaches, and everything else. It's going to be good.
Yeah, I'll celebrate that after. I just need the Eagles to win.
Right.
I don't care. I ain't gonna be talking about, there's two black quarterbacks against each other. I don't care.
Right.
All right, y'all. God bless y'all. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see you later.
Bye.